What's up, everyone, and welcome back for channel update. And I just did one of these a little bit ago to talk about the other channel, but now I'm going to talk about this channel because there's a lot of stuff going on. And for those who are wondering, a couple of things. One, this background gameplay was actually going to be its own video originally. It was going to be me opening loot boxes for the Overwatch event, but I was encountering a mic glitch that I actually ran into in the next couple episodes of Xenoverse as well, but I fixed it during those videos, and I did not realize that it happened during this video. So it was basically switching it to another input that wasn't actually a mic for recording sound. It was for picking up sounds from something else, and it kept switching to that because the Elgato recognized it for some reason as the primary. I don't know why, and I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it, so I had to unplug it completely. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is I have a few things to tell you guys about, and as you can probably see, because I'm going to put it somewhere in the title, I need help from you guys, or I want help from you guys, and this is not going to be the be-all end-all. As I've said before, when I do polls, it's just going to be to give me a general idea. Although I say that in the last 3 polls I did exactly what you guys wanted me to do anyway. So let's get into the topic of this video, the main topic, which is 2K. No more Pelicans. I'm beyond frustrated with the inability to balance it. I think just my team is too good. I can't ever find a competitive game. The only competitive game I've ever really played of the game in its entire life cycle was that game against the Spurs. Very back and forth, very fair, very even game. Nothing really stupid happened. There was no like amazing run by either team where they got up by like 20. It was not a team completely just dominating another in the stats. I'm still going to try and find balance to the game, but I think it's just good to start from a clean slate because I still want to post 2K. I think it's not as good as it was last year, even though last year's game wasn't very good. It's still not a very good game this year, I don't think. But I want to do content for it because I know that a lot of you guys found this channel because of 2K. So I have a few ideas for new teams. And I have the game open right now, but obviously you can't see it. So this is the list of teams I'm considering, and there's going to be a straw poll down in the description. I want you guys to either leave in the comments or go vote in that straw poll. It takes 10 seconds you open it, you click your option, and you click submit, and then your vote is in. And I'm going to use that as a general gauge of what people want to see, not obviously as my final decision. It's not just a straight vote. It's probably gonna be about 80% that, but if I see that like two teams are really close, I'm gonna make a judgment call. Or if a team is overwhelmingly popular, I'll say, okay, this is the team people want to see. But team number one, the Philadelphia 76ers, and that decision is based around the existence of Joel Embiid, who's been really good this year, but is a interesting case because while he is a superstar caliber player, he's very, very injury prone, and that puts a wrinkle into the series is if we can build a great team, but also if he can stay healthy to, be on that great team. There's a lot of trade pieces with this team, like Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor, who we could utilize to maybe build a more balanced team rather than a team that's very heavy on big men. There's the Ben Simmons case, and I think that it would be a very beneficial thing to tank for the first season of this series if we do go Philadelphia, because we can get a good draft pick, we can get a good prospect to pair with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and whoever we might acquire through a trade or free agency in the meanwhile. The next team's the Minnesota Timberwolves, and again, this is kind of based on 1 or 2 players. This is based mostly on the Towns-Wiggins combo, although I think they have really good players on their roster. This is probably the most balanced. Like this Minnesota is the team with the most players I like on it. Like Towns and Wiggins are very good, obviously. I like Ricky Rubio a lot. I think he's a really good defensive player too. Gorgui Dieng has been one of my favorite players since he came into the league. I really like Shabazz Muhammad as a role player. I think Tyus Jones can be really good. I like Chris Dunn quite a bit, at least defensively. There's a lot of players on this team I really like. I've always been a fan of Brandon Rush, and Zach LaVine obviously is a pretty good player. He has a torn ACL, so he would miss probably most of the first season if we did go that route. But he would probably be a trade chip anyway because I think that we could get a lot out of him, and I don't think he's the greatest fit with the rest of this roster, but that's option number 2. And then the last option is the Portland Trailblazers. I was hesitant to put this team on this list because last year I played, I think, 2 seasons with Damian Lillard at the end of the Knicks franchise, and he is obviously the main player on this team. But this team represented a very interesting path because out of the 3 teams, this team is probably the closest to contending because they have 2 superstar type of players, at least all-stars. They have a superstar in Damian Lillard and then a very, very good player in CJ McCollum, and it'll be an interesting path to see if you could build around those 2 guys who are pretty lackluster defensively and kind of undersized guards. See if you can build a good team around them. They just acquired Yusuf Nurkic, who was one of my favorite players on Denver for quite a while, and he's a really good defensive player, really good rebounder. There's a few interesting role players on this team. Alan Crabb's pretty good. I like Ed Davis a lot. I don't really like a lot of the rest of these players. I thought Noah Vonleh could have been good, but I think the ship has sailed on that one. This is a roster that could be ripped apart and put back together around these 2 or 3 top players, but out of this group, they're probably the closest to contending because they have the best set of ready to go players. Like Lillard is in this game an 89 overall. I'm looking at it right now, and McCollum's an 86. Those are like out of all these teams, those are the 2 closest. That's the closest duo of players to contending. So vote on that down below. I'm not really favoring any teams. Obviously, I think if I had to pick one now, it would be the 76ers just because that represents the most interesting path. But I really like playing with all of these guys. And the Wizards were going to crack this team, but I actually think the Wizards are just a little bit too good. They might be pretty good in year 1. And I want to be presented with a path of we could either be decent and contend for the playoffs in year 1, or we could tank depending on how things go. And I think if we do the Wizards, if we're bad in the first year, it wouldn't be something where we could trade a lot of players because we don't really have a lot of players who you'd want to trade if you're going to be good soon because Washington has a very good roster. So vote on that down below. The link is going to be in the description. Another game that I'm going to do a new series for very soon is MLB. This is going to be the last season of the Blue Jays franchise, more than likely. I don't think I'll be able to squeeze another season in between now and MLB 17 unless it carries over in early MLB 17 while the OSFM rosters are finalized. I'm not sure that, but anyway, I'm going to start a new series in MLB 17 regardless of whether this franchise with the Blue Jays spills over or not. And I have a few thoughts. I was originally going to put a team from every division, but I think I have it down to 4 teams, and I'm going to do a straw poll for that in a few weeks. Not right now, but because I'm already giving you guys this one. But I have a few thoughts on this, and I don't really have these roster sheets in front of me or anything, so I can't really 100% tell you what the deal is with any of them. But a lot of these are based on like 2 or 3 things. So the Rays, I did AL East last year, and I've done AL for 2 years in a row now. So these first 2 AL teams is not really the direction I was thinking about going. The last team is actually the team that I was kind of favoring, if any team. But the Rays, they have a lot of interesting players, and they play in probably the toughest division. And I really like this. This is going to be a theme with these teams. I really like their uniforms. I live in the Tampa Bay area. I've been to a few Rays games. It's surprising that people even go. It might be surprising to hear that people even go, but I have been to a couple in my time. I really like their uniforms. I like a few of their players. I think Chris Archer is really good. And Evan Longoria obviously had a bounce back year last year. Kevin Kiermaier is really good. So you have a few players you can kind of build around. Los Angeles Angels are my other team, and that was pretty much just based on can you build a good team around Mike Trout. That was my basic question with that, and so that's going to be the goal if we do go that route, is to build around Mike Trout, obviously. And the roster is pretty barren, so there's a lot of work to be done. Atlanta, I was thinking about doing Atlanta because they're kind of bare bones at this point. They have a few decent, talented MLBers, but not obviously a great core. They have a new ballpark, and you could go a million different directions. You could just groom the prospects. You could trade the prospects for better pieces. There's a ton of different paths, and again, I like their uniforms quite a bit. So Milwaukee is the last team on this list, and this is probably the team I was favoring the most because this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge than these other teams because you have the big Ryan Braun question. There's not really many bona fide pitchers on the staff. There's a few players who are intriguing, like Junior Guerra and Eric Thames, who came from interesting backgrounds. They have a couple of top-level prospects like Brett Phillips and Orlando Arcia, but not a lot of established major league talent at this point, and it would be a way to kind of craft the roster to my vision of what I would like the team to be. And I should say, I'm not 100% going to do this, but I'm considering turning off DH if I do a National League team, or turning on DH if I do a National League team, just because I think there should be a DH anyway, and I think that it kind of ruins the strategy, especially after playing for 2 years as the AL, as an AL team. I think it would I think it's more interesting to have to find an extra hitter than to have your pitcher come up and be wasted at bat. So I'll talk about that more in whatever video I decide to do the straw poll for this franchise in. But those are my four preliminary teams. I was originally going to do the Marlins, but there was a happening with the Marlins that made me not want to use the Marlins anymore. Their best player died, and that kind of turned me off to that idea. But that was the idea I had for the longest time, but I don't really want to do that team anymore. Not only because Jose Fernandez died, but just there's other reasons that I decided after that I didn't want to do them. So a couple other updates before we get out of here. Madden's going to be continuing as the main series for at least a little bit until MLB comes out, and NCAA is going to be my side series. Madden, I'm going to try to do 2 more seasons after this one, but I'm not entirely certain how it's going to work out because I don't know what I'm going to be doing this summer yet. I have a few different ideas, but it's not anything set in stone yet. NCAA is going to be continuing as a side series for now. Those are series. LeBron James obviously has an end date, but the Syracuse Dynasty I think is just going to be a series that just goes on and on. I don't plan on doing another Dynasty ever for NCAA, so even if I just post it once in a great while, that's going to be the only Dynasty series you're probably ever going to see from me. So that series is never going to end, no matter if I just don't post it for a while, unless I lose the save file. It's the only situation I can think of, but even then, like, there's PlayStation Plus backups, so not anything that I have to be super concerned about. But that is going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you vote in the straw poll down below and let me know what you think. And yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.